Action! Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Live from Party, Nicaragua. So good to see everybody here 2 days in a row. If you tuned in yesterday, okay, good. Looks like we're live. If you tuned in yesterday, you may have seen me doing I Got My Miracle Facebook Live in Costa Rica. And today we are live in Nicaragua. Now, if anyone is watching, I see we got some people hopping on already. Can you let me know how the audio is right now? Can you give me a thumbs up or a message? Let me know what you think about the sound. Because, hey, George Bell, you're watching. Can you let me know? Can you hear me okay? Is this thing on? Because if you might notice, I'm wearing a microphone today. Because, you can probably hear the crazy party music. We're going to unplug the... Now listen to, can you hear that music? Of course, the music got a little bit quieter, but there's a big beach party happening on Sunday afternoon in San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua. So I'm super happy that I packed this microphone for us because we're sitting outside here. If you want to show, my lovely cameraman Levi is with me. Levi Moody, who you may have met on one of my past Facebook Lives, but he is with me and he's just showing you where we are this afternoon in a beautiful hotel just right on the beach here, the beachfront in San Juan del Sur. And the internet wasn't working very well in our room, so we came out here to the pool. Decided that this morning this would be the best place to do the live, and when we came out here at 2 o'clock to do it, this party was happening. So thank you, past self, for thinking ahead, knowing well enough to pack this microphone. So if you haven't figured out by now, you'll know that we are not in Costa Rica, and we're not in the kitchen. We're not in Fruits at Roots. Who do I got watching here? I got Jess Hardy saying the audio is perfect. Thank you. Karen says audio is good here. George says sound is good. Rick says all good in the hood. Okay, perfect. Anyone that's watching, let me know where you're watching from. So like I said, we're in Nicaragua, and I'm actually going to talk about a topic today that there's a little bit of confusion around it, and I talk about it at length every week at Rythmia with the guests, and we're going to talk about our food, and in particular the plant medicine ayahuasca diet and how it relates to our food and all of the recommendations that we make. But before we get too far into that, Gord is saying hi to Karen. Gord says hello, we hear you fine, perfect. Karen's watching from California, from Cali. Does anyone want to see a baby bump? If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've been seeing a lot of pictures lately. I just posted a picture of me this morning with my 34-week belly, but I'll show you guys real quick right now what's going on. Week 34. Turn it back the other way, honey, because people are, when it's on the video, it's going to be funny. Flip the other way, and the iPhone probably said turn around. So this is what's going on. We're just heading into week 34 with baby Kobe Grace. We're very excited. I have a lot of pregnancy apps on my phone, and all of them are telling me, oh, you could go into labor any day now. I'm like, We're aiming for at least 37 and a half, 38 weeks. Thank you very much. I've got way too much to do before little Kobe Grace makes her grand appearance, but whenever she decides she's ready, we'll be ready. Okay, so yes, baby is definitely growing. Denise is watching from Maine. Gord's watching from Ontario, Canada in the house. Mara's watching from Austria. Jeff says, love your book. Oh my goodness. So Jeff, you're going to want to tune in as well as everyone else in the coming weeks, because I'm going to make my official announcement of my second book, which I'm very, very, very excited about. It's we're just waiting on a few final approvals. I'm waiting for approval on it in the Apple iTunes store, and it's going to be available widely. And we're getting a big print count done to offer in the gift shop at Rythmia. So I think towards the end of June, I'm going to be doing a whole Facebook Live on the topic, and we're going to do some recipes from the book, so I'm very excited about that. Candice is watching from Alberta, Canada. My son is due in August. Oh, amazing. Okay, so by the way, I don't want to get too off track, but I read recently that August is the most common month for babies to be born. So I was thinking what goes on back in November. I guess American Thanksgiving, maybe. But August is the most popular month, I think, followed by June and July, which is kind of interesting. So here we are. We're part of, and I started researching it because there was a bunch of guests at work at Rythmia this week that were all saying, have your birthday August 3rd because my niece had hers. Have your birthday August 10th because that's my birthday. Have your birthday August 20th because that's my birthday. Everyone seemed to have August birthdays, so there's definitely something to it. And these were people from, you know, their 20s till their 60s and everyone in between that were saying that. So August apparently has been a very popular month for birth through all of time, potentially. Okay, here we go. So we're talking about food, and if you watched a Facebook Live yesterday, I interviewed a woman by the name of Michelle, and I thought it was really fitting that I interviewed her because she came to me yesterday morning at Rythmia after our closing circle with Jerry and just told me, she's like, straight up, I hated your food when I got here. She said, the recommendations of the dieta that was emailed to her, so if you come to Rythmia, we send you a bunch of emails. One of them includes the dieta and information on some simple dietary changes to make before you come to Rythmia to best, you know, prepare yourself physically and mentally for the experience that you have with us doing the Rythmia way. And she shared with me, she said I felt like I was starving to death. Those were her words, I think, specifically. It was really, really difficult for her, and so she assumed when she got to Rythmia that food was going to be just as horrendous in her eyes. And she told me that the day that she got to Rythmia and went through the buffet and opened up all the lids, she was like, I can't eat any of this. She's like, the only thing I recognize and will enjoy here is salad. But as the days went on at Rythmia, she started trying something new every day and realized that she actually really, really loved the food and loved the way the food made her feel. So this is why I decided to, you know, interview her yesterday, because I had a really strong connection with her because of the whole food and the miracles she experienced around her body and food. Because she was a self-professed junk food addict before coming to Rythmia. I don't even like to use the term junk food. I just think food is food. If you've been also reading my social media, I went on a bit of a rant about that yesterday, that food is just food. There's no such thing as good food and bad food. But I'm not going to get into that topic too much today. But it does remind me, you know, I get reminded weekly how differently everyone reacts to the dieta, how differently everyone reacts to the food that we serve at Rythmia, and, you know, how important food really is to our health and our spiritual health, our mental health, and our physical health. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. I did do a Facebook Live on the dieta and the details about why we ask that you eliminate certain foods back in March of 2018. So if you want to go back and check that out, I'm not going to get into all the great details about it today, just because I've already done that. This was also a request. One of our team members in California shared with me last week that they had someone that had written in and asked specifically for me to touch on this topic in one of my Facebook Lives, so that's why we're doing it today. So let's see. I'm going to talk about food reviews right now because there's TripAdvisor. We have well over 700 reviews on TripAdvisor now at Rythmia, which is amazing. I think we're actually rated, Jerry shared, I think just this past week, that we are actually the #1 rated hotel in all the world. Like, Rythmia versus like the Waldorf Astoria, we actually are rated higher than them just because of the sheer number of reviews and the sheer number of excellent 5-star reviews that we've had, which is pretty crazy. Really not crazy, because Rythmia is pretty fucking awesome. But there's quite often a lot of notes in the TripAdvisor about the food, so if you want to hear about what other people are saying about the food, you can go to TripAdvisor and filter out the words food or Chef Meg, and you'll get a lot of information from that. But we also send out an exit survey when guests check out at Rythmia. So when they're leaving, we have them fill out a survey. It's like less than 10 questions, asking simple questions like, how was your experience with your accommodations? How was your experience with the breathwork facilitators? Your experience with the plant medicine? Your experience with the cleanse? Your experience with the medical team? And how did you like the food? And no fail, every week I get a handful of people that either say it was decent or poor. And that being said, my rating, it's rated out of 5 every week. I've never gone below 4.6 out of 5 as far as I can remember. So we're doing pretty darn good. But I think that a lot of people that are maybe rating the food lower is because they're just not used to the plant medicine diet, or they're following a specific diet that we don't technically accommodate to directly, like things like the keto diet can be super hard. If you're following a super low carb, low starch diet, you really have to pick and choose what you're going to eat on the buffet. And I know that we do serve a lot of high carb, which would be considered higher glycemic index foods On the buffet, lots of tropical fruit every morning, pineapple, watermelon, papaya, all of that good stuff. We serve rice and beans most mornings. We serve different types of gluten-free and vegan pancakes. We also have eggs and goat milk yogurt from a local goat farm, and avocados some mornings. We do cucumber slices and tomato slices some mornings, but not always the most wide array of options for people following certain diets. Lunches and dinners also widely comprised of starches like quinoas and brown rice. Beans, always tons of bean options and bean dish options for vegetarian curries and things like that. We also have the simple, no salt, no sugar added beans and rice that we always have options for people, as well as steamed vegetables and things like that, which would all be considered carbolicious. And the reason being is traditional plant medicine diets, if you're going off into the jungle to do your plant medicine, which is what most people are doing in Peru and Brazil and the like, your diet is going to be mainly comprised of things like yuca, which is a root vegetable, plantain, which is a starchy, less sweet banana that is typically served in savory dishes. It's going to contain a lot of rice and beans and things like that, and fruit. And because when you're living in the jungle, you're eating what is coming from the land. You're not necessarily growing organic arugula next to the temple. So it's a quite traditional way of eating, with a lot of extra bells and whistles, what we offer at Rythmia. So that's one of the reasons why the menu is the way it is. I've also been working with different shaman over the course of 3+ years with Rythmia, and have been tweaking the diet according to what they have recommended. And I work with Jerry very closely on what the medicine tells him he likes to see on the menu. I'm constantly changing things up for what he envisions the menu to be. And I'm also doing my very, very best to accommodate the vast majority of dietary needs, because I know that we do cater to everything from the most ethical vegan to the most keto, carnivore, paleolithic person. And it's really hard to, with the small buffet that we have, to constantly cater to all of those things. And I do have to field questions all the time from ethical vegans. Why do I serve honey? Why do I serve chicken and fish? And on the other scope, from people that want a lot more high fat, or people that want, certain things, I have to, explain to them why we do things the way that we do it. So I know that I'm never going to be getting 5 out of 5 all the time, unless I had a much more expansive opportunity to build a bigger buffet. And if I wasn't quite tied so much as I am to the plant medicine diet, and we have a Ministry of Health that oversees everything, and we've had to submit our menus and recipes to them as well for their approval. So I'm working within certain limitations, and I'm not using this as any sort of an excuse, but I'm just I just want to make it more understanding to people why we do it. So as far as the dieta is concerned, there are 2 terms for dieta that are kind of switched around when it comes to ayahuasca and plant medicine. And the one that we use, what we say about dieta, is mostly about, thank you Priscilla, she says Rythmia has excellent food. Hey, Ariana's watching, oh my goodness. Aisana's watching, Kenneth is saying hi Meg, Lorraine is watching, Wayne, oh goodness gracious, thank you guys for tuning in. But when we say dieta at Rythmia, we're just talking about very small lifestyle changes that we suggest leading into your week with Rythmia. And that does include some dietary changes. The biggest ones, we ask that you limit alcohol, you eliminate pork and beef leading up, like I think 2 weeks before. We ask that you eliminate any sort of really processed foods and any other mind-altering drugs. And obviously, if you're on certain medications that the medical team speaks to about, that you're going to taper off a lot of those things as well. But the big food eliminators are beef and pork, alcohol, and mind-altering drugs. Those are the big ones. And then there's a lot of other stuff that every shaman has different opinions on, that things that you should limit. Things like sugar and salt and oil and caffeine and spicy food and fermented food. And there's all different types of reasons and explanations for that. Some that have been very clearly, defined by strong shamanic cultures, others that I have been doing a lot of research on that have been debunked and their actual effect on ayahuasca. There's also confusion between certain foods and certain plant medicines, what's good for which and what isn't. So I've tried to eliminate a lot of the really controversial ones. And then we work in moderation and a lot of the other things. Because if you've been to Rythmia recently in the last year or so, we do, in our orientation class, I do have a letter from the chef that I share with all the guests explaining, we had you following a stricter diet leading up to your time here at Rythmia. And when you arrive at Rythmia and check the buffet, you may notice that it's a bit more flexible as far as the ingredients that we say to limit or just have in smaller amounts. Like I do use oil, I do use salt, I do use some spicy foods. I do use certain things on the buffet at Rythmia. Main reason being is I want the vast majority of people to be really comfortable with what they're eating and being able to choose things that feel good for them without having to really stress about it. Because you're not at Rythmia to really worry about your diet so much as you're there to really work deeply with the medicine and all the other amazing healing modalities that we have. So everything we offer on the buffet is super healthy, and it's going to support you fully through your journey, make you feel nice and comfortable, and is also super, super safe with the medicine. So anything that we do serve is fine. We do serve coffee at the restaurant. We don't advertise it, but there's a lot of people out there that eliminating coffee gives them really bad headaches and withdrawal symptoms. So having a little splash of coffee every morning while you're there is probably better than not, and then having all the other side effects that go along with coffee withdrawal. Let's see. Linda says, miss that yummy food at Rythmia. Lorena says she's agreed. Debbie says you're doing so amazing. Thank you guys. Tati's watching. Carrie's watching. CBD oil, Asana's watching asking about. I think that, and medical marijuana, Carol is asking about. I mean, ideally, if you can get by without using any of that stuff, I would say try to. Only because ayahuasca has been rumored to be a bit of a jealous plant, and she likes to have a nice clean slate when she comes to start working with you. I was working at Rythmia this week teaching one of the aftercare classes that we have that's called New Heart, Afterglow, Afterglow, and I had a lot of people asking me, well, when I go home and I keep eliminating, when you go home, we do suggest that at least for 2 weeks you don't have any alcohol, you stay away from the pork and the beef and all of those same things, just because the medicine is in you and she wants to continue working in you. And the easiest way to transition back into real life and go through a small adjustment period emotionally that you might go through is to stay in tune and in the same vibration that you were leading into the plant medicine, the same vibration you were at when you were taking the medicine, to transition you home. That's the best way possible. And I had a lot of people asking me about the medical marijuana and CBD oil. And I said, well, I think the big thing is you just checking in on your intention. Check in. If you're talking about marijuana itself and not necessarily for medical purposes, why do you feel like you need to smoke the marijuana? Smoke the marijuana. Just sounded like my dad or someone. If you're smoking it because you feel like you need it to sleep, or you're feeling like emotions are coming up post-medicine that are making you feel a little bit maybe anxious or sad, and if you're smoking marijuana to dumb down those emotions, then maybe you shouldn't smoke it, because I think what's important is that we feel all the stuff that comes up, and for a lot of us we use drugs and alcohol to suppress things. So if you can really look at yourself and see that that's why you want to do any sort of drug or drink alcohol, then maybe you can bypass it at that moment. Things like CBD oil, I know myself, I used to do that nightly. Before I got pregnant, I was taking it for sleep. If that was the same case for you, maybe you realize after you've done the medicine and done all this healing work on your body and mind that you might actually not need that for sleep anymore. You might be actually able to just naturally fall asleep in a way that you weren't able to before the medicine. So check in with that as well. Don't go back to the habits that you used to have as the person you were before, because you're not the same person after the medicine. You're going to be a different person physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So you don't have to, necessarily go back to these old autopilot ways of living. Let's see. Sven is sending some love. Tati's sending love. Steve says, what about coffee and ayahuasca? I mean, coffee is one of the things on the list that a lot of people in the plant medicine world say to avoid or eliminate completely, and there's different reasons being why that is. At Rythmia, we serve it, and I know that many people, do imbibe a little bit of coffee, and it doesn't cause any actual physical harm. Like the reason that every food that is on the limit or eliminate list is for different reasons, depending who you speak to. I know certain foods like fruit vegetables like garlic and onions, which some people say to eliminate. They have great grounding capabilities when eaten. Like if you look at Ayurvedic science and stuff like that, they're great grounding foods. And when you're wanting to travel through the astrals, maybe you don't want to be so grounded, so maybe avoid those things. There's other people that say things like garlic, the way like you would eat garlic to keep vampires away. If you eat garlic, maybe you're going to keep all of your higher self spiritual entities away, which is the opposite of what you want on medicine. You want those, you want to have visits from your higher self and your spirit and all of that stuff. So I mean, there's so many different silly explanations for all of these eliminations. I like to think of the dieta and the food preparation portion of the Rythmia Way program is akin to doing the asana portion of yoga. So when we use the term yoga, we always think of downward dog and triangle pose and tree pose, the postures. But the asana portion of yoga is just one of 8 limbs of the yogic way of living. There's karma, there's the Ayurvedic diet, there's a ton of different parts and components to be living a very yogic lifestyle. Following a sattvic diet or a very connecting spiritual diet is a way to prepare you for the physical aspect of yoga. And all the physical aspect of yoga is a preparation method so that you can sit for long periods of time in meditation. So asana or yoga postures aren't yoga. They're the preparation for meditation, because all of these yogic ways of living are to help better prepare you to do a lot of meditation so you can connect with divinity. The dieta that we offer at Rythmia, the one that we want you to prepare with before you come, and the food that we offer there is like the equivalent of the asanas, but the food is preparing your body for their spiritual connectivity through the medicine ceremony. Does that make sense? So that's the way we term dieta. There's also people that are deep ayahuasqueros that live in the jungle and things like that. They'll do a full diet where they change their whole lifestyle. They eat very, very simply for the most part, like rice and beans, and they don't have any sort of alcohol. They don't have any sort of stimulation. They're not having any sort of sex. They're living very, very, very calm, quiet lifestyles. And they're also connecting with herbs and different plant medicines so that they can start to become more in connection with Mother Nature and the different herbs that are used in ceremony. So that's a very extreme dieta, but that is a lifestyle versus what we're talking about here, which is mostly just a food-related diet. And we do recommend, if you read the emails that you receive when you sign up, we do recommend you stay away from your, too much social interaction through things like the Facebook and the Instagram and stuff like that. Unnecessarily, like all of that random scrolling. We ask you to, try to avoid having sexual contact up to and during the time you're on the medicine. So that is, the limit. That's what we request. Let's see. Did I have anything else I really wanted to talk about? If you want to know the full list of things that, different shamanic cultures recommend you avoid leading up to a plant medicine ceremony, you can Google it. And if you're booked into Rythmia or planning to, you're going to get all that information in an email. But I hope I answered some questions here today about the food, about the preparing for visiting us at Rythmia, why we serve the food that we do, and I hope that one day soon I get to see you guys all there. You can come and enjoy the food and tell me what you think in person, because I think it's such a benefit for everyone. I just can't thank Jerry enough for having created Rythmia and everything that it's done for me, for my loved ones, for my partner Levi behind the camera right now. It's been pretty life-changing for him, and for all of the amazing guests that we see every week. I'm just in awe of the miracle-making magic that Rythmia is. So I hope to see you guys all there. Tune in tomorrow. I believe Dr. Jeff will be doing a Facebook Live. He's still in California, so you might have a little glimpse of one of his little kidlets like last week. Scarlett joined him. Maybe we'll see Steele, who knows. And then we're going to spend a couple more days here in Nicaragua, and we'll see you guys next Sunday. Next Sunday, what am I doing? Oh, I'm talking about hot sauces. So we're going to be back in the kitchen next Sunday. We're going to do different kinds of hot sauces, or salsa picantes. That's what we're going to do at Rythmia. So I can't wait to see you guys there. In the meantime, I'm going to dance off. Levi's going to unplug the microphone so I can have a little dance.